continue our Lenten series where we take stories from among you and stories from the Bible and find a message. Today, I'm pleased, we're blessed to hear the story of Flo Childers as she speaks to us of encouragement.
My name is Flora Childers, and I've been attending Sellersburg since 1998. I grew up out in the country. We were farmers, and I'm the oldest of 9 children. My childhood was with the Church of Christ out of Borden. Sister Spalding, that was what we called her. She was our youth leader at prayer meeting, and she was a big influence on me as a young girl. I think vision is important because it's serving Christ. That's what the Lord told us to do. I was active with the Board of Global Ministries, even at the district level. And then I went on to the conference level. I did leadership programs with the United Methodist Women at the district as district president, conference, School of Christian Mission, and jurisdiction level with School of Christian Mission and Board of Global Ministries too. So I was active in all of those kinds of things, which is all a part of the mission program of the church. It's like the John Wesley's covenant prayer. It states all the things that we're supposed to do and how we are in ministry with God and serving people in all ways. I had that written down to be in my obituary. I was active with the United Methodist Women at the district level, and I knew about Sellersburg United Methodist Church before I came there. I knew several of the ladies. So, to me, it was like tying into a group of women that I already knew, like family. And United Methodist Women and the mission of the church were the two primary things that drew me to the United Methodist Church. Steve Johnson was the pastor when we moved there, and he asked Don to be his assistant. But then Don came ill shortly after we came over there. We had moved in the new house in 98, and he became ill in 2001 and passed away in October of 2001. The church was very supportive during Don's illness and his death too. I try to be an encourager to people. One year at School of Christian Mission, there was a young lady that came from Evansville, and that was her first time to attend. And so I talked to her after it was over, and I told her I was really glad she came and joined us, and I hope she'd come back again. And the next year she came back, and she said, "You were just so nice and encouraging me." She said that meant a lot to me, to be invited back again, and you were glad I was there. And I thought, just a simple little thing such as that can be an encourager to another person. When they asked me to be the dean at School of Christian Mission, that was a big job. I was really reluctant to take that on. And there were particularly one lady that encouraged me. She said, "Don would be so proud of you doing this. I thought, oh yeah. So I did, and she was an encourager all the way through that. I like being a greeter there at church. Uh, I like to be involved in the prayer quilt ministry. I think that's an outreach to people and showing love and care for them. Here at Westminster, I have an older friend that I have known for probably 40 years. She is a former United Methodist woman. She's also the mother of a pastor. And she lives down the hall from me. And if I'm going to the store, I send her a text and say, I'm going to JC or Walmart. Do you need anything? And she'll say, bananas or yogurt or something. Anyway, I'll pick up little things for her along the way. And another lady who has come to Bible study with me a couple of times. And she's doesn't have a car. So I have taken her to doctor's appointments and we'll pick her up and take her to the grocery when I'm going to. So, if I could describe my faith, I would say it was assurance, purpose, and joy. All three of those words are important.
Thank you, Flo. When we talk about Christianity, and as we share with others what we believe, we quickly use the word faith. The theme for worship during 2026 is Stories of Faith. The author of the letter to the Hebrews, found in the New Testament, wrote, now faith is being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see. Unfortunately, we no longer have a verb form of faith. That is to say, we do not say, I faith in God. It just sounds wrong. Instead, we shift to a nearby synonym, belief, and use its verb form, believe. So when we believe in something strongly, we might say, I believe in my heart. Thus, belief and faith and encouragement all carry a message from the heart. Today we're considering faith as seen in acts of encouragement. When one truly encourages another, when one truly believes that the other should consider deeply our words of reassurance. We're not speaking head to head or mind to mind. Encouragement is much deeper. Encouragement speaks heart to heart. Encourage is a word first seen in the 15th century in documents written in Old French. The prefix en, denotes to make, or, for our purpose, to put in. The root word courage appears around the year 1300 in Old French, meaning heart, referring to the seat of emotions, not the blood pumping organ, but from the heart, the seat of emotions. Hence, courage has long suggested spirit, temperament, state or frame of mind, and linguists suggest that courage itself is derived from the vulgar Latin, which doesn't mean naughty. Vulgar means everyday. So the vulgar Latin is just everyday Latin. Vulgar Latin word was cortic. I practiced and practiced and practiced. Corticum, which derived from the Latin word cor, meaning heart. Cor can be found in the earliest European languages, before Old French, before Old English, before Old German. And it was the word Kurd, K-E-R-D, meaning heart. One without courage might be described by saying he didn't have the heart to do it. Or on the other hand, one could consider the Scottish warrior William Wallace, who in the late 13th century led a rebellion against King Edward I of England. In 1995, Wallace would be glorified through cinema and would be branded with the title Braveheart. The root Kurd has also given us modern words such as accord, cardiac, concord, core, cordial, credible, credit, and discord. We also discovered the Latin word credo and the English word creed, both meaning believe, to believe with all one's heart. In her video, Flo shared how others saw in Flo skills and gifts and graces that God might be able to utilize to help others grow in faith and understanding. Flo offered to us examples of how she was encouraged, and in turn, how she encouraged others. She made clear to us that encouragement may be as simple as acknowledging another person, saying hello, inviting them to return. You never know. You see, encouragement does not always change the present or change the near future. Sometimes encouragement lingers over time. Like a seed, the encouragement must wait for the fullness of time to break forth. When I was in 6th and 7th grade, yes, it was a two-year Lenten study, I participated in confirmation class in my home church. In the class, I didn't do anything special. I just took the class with everyone else my age. In 7th grade, confirmation class was held during Sunday school, which in my home church followed worship. It was worshiped in Sunday school. So confirmation was after worship. We went to confirmation class. Then we went down for lunch in the fellowship hall, and then went back to the room for the afternoon session. One Sunday, as we walked up to the classroom after lunch, our pastor, Dr. Odell, was walking next to me. And he asked me a question that surprised me. Gary, my boy, that's what he always called me. Gary, my boy, have you ever considered the ministry? Now, I was surprised because almost anyone who might listen to me or be standing near me would know that I wanted to be a meteorologist. Church was a big part of my family's life, and I embraced learning about the church and the Bible, but I never considered ministry. Well, at the end of our walk back to the room, Dr. Odell just said, well, keep that in the back of your mind. At the end of our class, we were confirmed. The 18 or so persons were kneeling down at our kneeling rail stretched across the front. And Dr. Odell moved down the line one by one, alphabetically, of course, placed his hand on our head and proclaimed the words of confirmation. And when he got to me, he repeated the ritual. But before he moved on to the next person, covered his mic, leaned down into my ear, and said simply, "And don't forget ministry," and moved on down the line. In that subtle way, he encouraged me. And when I couldn't pass calculus, actually I did, I got a B. but it was a struggle. And since meteorology is nothing but calculus, thermodynamics, fluid dynamics, that wasn't going to be my future. I went to college and studied organ, and I realized how poorly I have some limitations, like I can't memorize, my hands don't do what my mind tells them to do. It makes it really tough to be a church organist. Strike one, strike two. So I was going to give God strike three. 57 years later, here I stand. In the gospel story we heard this morning, we encounter one of a series of healing stories presented by Luke to introduce Jesus. It comes from chapter 5, and so this is early on in a series of healing stories. And of course, Jesus is the main character of the gospel that will follow, so the introduction is important. Luke's choice of stories and teachings help his readers embrace the person and power of Jesus revealed in Luke's presentation. Often we think of encouragement as a person telling another, "Go on, you can do it." In most encouragement stories, a person is emboldened to act a certain way. And that's what we expect to hear. But in today's story, found in 3 of the Gospels, the encourager acted on behalf of another. The friends had heard that Jesus would be nearby. At this point, according to Luke, Jesus is known throughout Galilee as a miraculous healer. And a friend of these men was paralyzed. So they decided to take their paralyzed friend to Jesus for healing. They picked up the mat and carried their friend to the house where Jesus was staying. In short, they kind of physically encouraged their friend to see Jesus. That's encouragement. And since their friend could not walk, they walked for him. They arrived at the house, and when they got there, it seemed that the whole region was there. They had gathered to see Jesus. So many people were in and around the house that there was no way they were going to get the 4 of them and the mat and their friend anywhere close to Jesus. They looked at the situation. They began to encourage one another to do something outlandish and unexpected. They climbed to the roof, pulled back the roofing material. Think palm fronds, not asphalt shingles, okay? Pulled back the roofing materials and peered down through the hole. And as they looked down, they could see Jesus right below them. So grabbing the corners of the mat, they lowered the man down into the room right next to Jesus. Now, we're discussing a paralyzed man. They could not simply say to their friend, "You need to go see Jesus. Go on, wait in line. He'll see you." No. They encouraged the man to see Jesus and took it upon themselves to make the possibility real. James, in his letter, which we also find in the New Testament, wrote, "What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if someone claims to have faith but does not have works? Surely the faith cannot save, can it? If a brother or sister is naked and lacks daily food, and one of you says to them, 'Go in peace, eat your fill, keep warm,' and yet you do not supply their bodily needs, what's the good of that?" So faith by itself, if it has no works, is dead. But someone will say, "You have faith and I have works. Show me your faith apart from your works. And I, by my works, will show you my faith." These friends had faith in what they heard about Jesus of Nazareth. And they acted and encouraged their paralyzed friend and encouraged one another to go the distance, to do the bazaar. And in doing so, a man, their friend, was healed. Perhaps encouragement occurs as one helps another recognize gifts within them. Perhaps encouragement happens when one is encouraged into ministry or another leadership role. Perhaps encouragement happens when one helps another overcome difficulties in order to achieve a goal. Encouragement happens in many ways for a variety of reasons. But however encouragement happens, encouragement is the heart and belief of one person speaking to the heart of another. Thanks be to God.